Welcome to the 11th episode of Bollywood TALKies with Outlook. I'm your host, Mitrajit Bhattacharya, and my guest tonight has the distinction of directing films that have won both Cannes Lion Advertising and National Film Awards. And his debut in the OTT space recently has been nothing but spectacular. Ram Madhvani, welcome to Bollywood TALKies with Outlook.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm hoping that we can have a session that the audience will enjoy.
Congratulations for Aria. What a series.
No, it's received so much love. Amita, my co-producer and my wife, Amita Madhvani, from Ram Madhvani Films. We are genuinely once more after Nirja. We have got so much love, and it's like people telling us that we're watching it with our parents and parents saying that we're watching it with our children. So that is really huge, and we are completely, how shall I say, in a way, exhausted with happiness.
So how did Aria happen, and how did you zero in on Pinoza?
So this will take me 2 minutes, and it tells you how the circle of life and how the universe kind of blesses everything. So, and it's incredible how it all works, because about now 10 years ago, there was the lady who ran Foxstar Studios, who was the creative head there, called Nirja. So she came and said, would you like to adapt Penosa? And Amita and me saw season 1 of Penosa, and we loved the character, the lead character, a lot. But I didn't want to make an adaptation because I felt, it's an adaptation, etc. And then she kept calling, Nirja kept calling every 3 months and saying, you have to do it, you have to do it. And then I said, I don't know how to adapt this. And then one day we were traveling. Amir Khan had asked me to make a video for Satyajit Jayate, so I was working with Amir Khan at that time. We were going on this train in Rajasthan, and I happened to ask the TC who was on the train, I said, what are these flowers which are outside as we were passing by? And he said, those are poppy fields, those are opium fields. And suddenly, everything actually began to click about how to situate this and how to make Penosa into something that makes it real, that makes it culturally rooted, that in a way that I could, what I call as cultural piggybacking. And so I went back to Foxstar, and I said, and to Endemol Shine at that time, I said, yes, I now know what to do. I know what to do with this. But that took 2 years, right, for me to understand what to do. And then it took us another year and a half to write the script. And then we were all set to make this movie. And then a month before the movie was meant to get made, and we've done recce's, and we've done costume trials, and we did the whole thing. And 1 month before, September 13th, I remember the day, I remember the time, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I was told, sorry, but the film is not happening anymore. And I had to call 40, 50 people in the team through that evening and through that afternoon. By the 20th call, because I got so much love and gratitude from the team, and said, don't worry, Ram, we'll do it again, don't worry. And I started crying. I was completely destroyed that it didn't happen. As a result of which, at the end of that evening, I said, Ram, you're going to stop crying. You're going to cry till tomorrow, September 14th, 2 p.m. This was about some 5-6 years ago, right? So I gave myself a deadline, and I said, 2 p.m. tomorrow, stop crying. And then what I did is, on Monday, I spoke to Atul Kasbekar, who is the co-producer of Nirja and a friend. And I said, Atul, Aria is not happening. And we had been developing Nirja together, along with Saivan and Sanyukta, the writers, for about 2 years before that, while Aria was hopefully going to get made. And guess what? By Wednesday, we went and met Foxstar again, and we said, how about Nirja? And by that time, Rucha Pathak was the creative head there. And the universe sort of willed it so that Nirja happened first. And then, because of the value system that Nirja put out into society, I was so everybody said this is a family film. I remember Suraj Barjatia himself, I didn't know him at all. He came up to me during the Filmfare Awards and said, मैंने अपनी daughter के साथ देखी है और आप please family picture बनाओ. And I thought it was a huge compliment, actually, because the fact that families could see together And that's one of the compliments that we've received on Aria, which is I'm seeing it with my parents, I'm seeing it with my children. And therefore, this whole sort of thing happened in this way, that after Nirja, then Disney Plus Hotstar came and met us along with Endemol and said, hey, you remember what you wanted to make as a movie? Is it yet in your bones? And I said, yes, it's still in my bones. And then thank God that, the OTT platforms have taken off, and thank God it happened as a web series, because I didn't realize the script that God was writing then for me. But the script that God was writing was make it now, make it with Disney Plus Hotstar, make it with Shushmita Sen, make it with Chandrachud Singh. And thank God for that, because the universe again blessed us. So it's now I feel more relaxed when things don't work out, because it is a business of rejection. And I feel now it's okay. I can now begin to trust in the universe's wisdom.
How did you decide on Sushmita to play the pivotal role? And how did you convince her to do the same?
Well, I'd worked with Shushmita in an ad many years ago. And I remember my son was 5 years old at that time. And Shushmita is a true star, right? What's the definition of a star is that when they enter a room, the energy of the room changes. You say, oh, kaun hai, and Shushmita is like that, right? She brings that aura with her. And she was like that when I was doing that ad so many years ago. My son was 5 years old. She picked him up. She was so and we sort of teased my son, and I, sort of for so many years after that, it said, Shushmita Sen picked you up and gave you a kiss. Huh? So, and even now, Shushmita, I tell her, oh, this is my son. And remember what you did. And, so I'd worked with her. I hadn't met her for many, many years. But when we met her, when Amita and me met her now to offer her Aria, she had obviously seen Nirja. She'd liked Nirja. We told her the story of where Penosa was, which is, Aria is based on the Dutch show. And she actually was and I told her about the process that I follow, which is a very unusual process of filmmaking. And she just was as enthusiastic as a kid in a pastry shop. She was so enthusiastic. She was so, yeah, I'm doing it. The universe has manifested this. I have manifested this. And she was so enthusiastic that I told Amita after the meeting, I said, I think, her lawyer, Priyanka, is going to call up and say, after 2 days, she loves you and she loves the project, but it's not going to, I told her, I don't think it's going to work. How can she just say yes, just like that, right? Later, of course, I realized Shushmita is genuine about these things. When she says yes, she said yes, and she's straight about these things. And she was, therefore, somebody who, again, I think the universe conspired, because you can see so much. There could have been nobody else who could have played it, right? Who else could have been there who could have played this role the way that she has played it? So again, I think it was just her sort of saying yes to us. I don't have the power, right? I don't think directors really have the power. Actors have the green lighting power.
So was she the first one to come on board? And how did you go about the rest of the cast?
Well, first, Abhimanyu Ray is my casting director. I also have to say that Sandeep Modi is my co-creator. I have Vinod Rawat as my co-director. And so I'm here on this interview, and thank you for that. But there is a whole team of people who are actually responsible for me being here in front of you. Though I suspect that I get the credit, and I'm happy. Thank God I'm getting the credit, but they're doing all the work, But the thing is that when we were auditioning for various roles, Abhimanyu was very, very clear about, my casting director was very clear that even if the first time we didn't like somebody, he'd say, oh, okay, let's try him for that role. Let's try him for that role. So a lot of these actors, actually Sikandar, Manish, they have auditioned for the role. They did a video test for the role. And we, therefore, even Chandrachud, actually, when we first spoke to him, he was in Dehradun at that time. And these are actors who obviously have other things to do. Shushmita obviously also gets other roles. So even Chandrachud had been offered other roles in the past. I must say that Nirja definitely helped, because when they have seen Nirja, and therefore I became somebody who they wanted to work with. And I do thank Atul a lot for that, and Shanti for having trusted, sort of us on the journey that we did on Nirja. But what these actors, therefore, the mix of actors was something which also Vinod Rawat is, both Sandeep and Vinod, are my associate directors from Nirja. And Vinod especially does some very extensive actor workshops. And he is a director now for Aria. But it's fascinating to see how he makes those actors, each and every one of them, from whether it's the kid to all these people. Shushmita had never come for a workshop, Chandrachud had never been for a workshop, but for them to have embraced the system and to agree to, sort of get the inception of the way that we work, I think is hats off. A lot of it is Vinod, Sandeep, and to all the actors, to agree to, therefore, adapt to the way that I work.
So spread over rather longish, I would say 9 episodes, how were you so confident that today's impatient OTT audience would love Aria the way they did?
You're never really confident about anything. It's all a struggle. It's all something that you're nervous about. You're all hoping that people will like it. We were very clear that I was very clear we're not making a crime thriller. We're making a family crime thriller. In Nirja, I was very clear that we're not making a hijack story. We're making a mother-daughter story. As soon as you start talking about relationships, then the thing that hooks people is obviously the thriller is there, obviously the hijack is there, obviously the crime thriller in this case is there. But what really people are investing in is the characters and the relationships. And I think relationships take time. We know ourselves in our own lives. To get to know somebody takes a certain amount of time. And I think people have embraced the fact that, yes, it's okay. We are getting to know these people. Therefore, if and when season 2 happens, we're hoping that it does. But we are hoping that people are not invested in the plot. They're not saying what's going to happen next. They're saying what's going to happen next to these people. Oh, बच्चे का क्या होगा? ओ माँ का क्या होगा? ओ आर्या का क्या होगा? अच्छा खान, अच्छा वो इंद्रजीत जो था ना, the guy was in the container yard who was put in jail, but Arya did not get him out. And those are all the relationship questions that we are getting, which I think the good thing about the duration. But having said that, yes, it is a 5-day test match. This is not a T20 match. It is eventually almost an hour per episode. But people have now understood that. They've settled down. The first day that we started getting some reviews, I was a little worried. I said, oh gosh, I think we have misjudged the duration. But by Saturday, the second day, I remember my editor, Khushbu, was in tears because she started reading some of the reviews and they put the blame squarely on the editor. And I said, 1 minute, how can a reviewer put a blame on the editor? It's me who's deciding on the duration. It's not the editor deciding on the duration. But I think the duration has paid off. I think we have had now many positive things about people want more. Okay, so now if you tell people, oh, I wish there was another episode. And so I think that that's been one of the great things about investing in human beings, relationships, and characters.
So since you were making a movie first on Aria and then you moved to making a web series, how were the processes different and how much reworking did you have to do?
Well, first we do have an Uber script, so to say, right? We do have Penosa. It's a bit like adapting. I'm not comparing Penosa to Shakespeare in any way, but it's like adapting a Shakespeare story. You have the plot. Now you have to make it culturally rooted. You have to make the characters believable. You have to understand where the milieu is. But once you have that, and then obviously you have to really decide why is it that you're making it. I think that is the big thing when I'm taking on anything and I'm saying it's a nice story. I love the character. I love the lead character and the strength of the lead character. She happens to be a woman. But why is it that we are making this? And I think that therefore the value system that you put out into society, at least on this one, I thought I would speak about the Bhagavad Gita, quite honestly. I thought I'd speak about karma. I thought I'd speak about dharma. I thought I'd speak about responsibilities, obligations, duties, what are all the grey things that surround us in our lives, and the, how shall I say, the multiplicity of truths. Is she right in what she wants to do? Is Tej right? Is the father right in what he wants to do? And I think one of the good things about the OTT platform is that it allows you grayness. There's no need for villains. There's no need for, of course, there is needs for heroes and heroines and all the rest, but eventually this allows you a certain, when they say, what does layered mean? Layered means, what does gray mean? Gray means that there is a multiplicity of truths. I also have my truth, you also have your own truth. And I also have my own karma, and you have your own karma. I have my own dharma, and you have your own dharma. You did certain things because you had to do certain things. Aria does certain things because she has to. And these are heavy. It's a price that she has to pay, as you realize at the end of Aria. It's a huge price. She tells her husband, I'm going to divorce you. I want to leave the business. And he says, it's not going to be easy. And she says, no, I will protect my children. But what is the price that she had to go to protect her children? So I think that what happens with OTT platforms is that I was allowed to speak about some of the reasons why I wanted to make this and put a value system out into society, which has a multiplicity of truths.
Is it also true, Anurag Kashyap was on this show before, and he said, OTT content does not put me in pressure for that opening. I can tell my story. And if it is good, people will see it, whether they see it today or tomorrow or day after. And I'm making this for myself and not for, I have to deliver a certain number on day one, X number of screens, and that pressure is not there. So does it work at all?
The thing is that I thought after Nirja, because I was trying to escape the Friday mafia, right? I was a successful director in Nirja, the best return of investment that year, the national award. So there's been critical fame. There has also been success. It's reached out to people. And the return of investment is equal to bums on seats, which is equal to, what Friday is all about. And I thought I'll escape all of this by doing this show and therefore protect the fact that, yes, last Friday I was this great director, so they said, and then this Friday nobody, because they said, he's a one film wonder. And I thought this would be a way in which I could continue working, because that's really what I want to do. I want to just continue working and struggling this mountain of cinema, right? And what happened was that, so I said, great, this is the nice thing about OTT. I don't have to worry about the opening numbers. But guess what? Now I have the mafia of season 2.
Such a strong hook at the end of season 1. Obviously, naturally, people are expecting the season 2. So right. Where do we stand with the season 2 now?
Well, there is no formal announcement yet. I'm hoping that we will make an announcement soon. Nothing formal. So coming soon, I hope to, but we'll know, and I'll let you know as soon as I know. But the amount of love that we've received, and actually when you asked the question about, did I know in my opening weekend? I knew in my opening weekend. I knew by Sunday that the show was a hit. I didn't expect that. And I didn't expect that by Monday, I would know that, hey, this is flying, okay? I thought I don't have to worry about those pressures. But I have to worry about the same pressures. Am I reaching out to the audience? Do they love it? Do they what are the messages I'm getting? What are the reviewers saying about it? And who are all the people who are messaging? All the same cycle, right? And I thought I would escape it, but no, I haven't escaped it. And I'm happy that I haven't escaped it, because what it means is that once more, I have created a thali-like experience, right? It has got for people who were saying कि थोड़ा करेला भी है, थोड़ा दूधी भी है, लेकिन आलू भी है, दाल भी है, सब्जी, you know, अचार भी है, ये सब है. So ये थाली system जो है of the, in a way, the commercial cinema world, right? Where I'm reaching out to the youth and I'm reaching out to people who are of, you know, I learned a new word after Nirja, which was, there was a person who came from a studio and said, Ram, you've made a 4-quadrant film. And I said, oh, what's a 4-quadrant film? And then they said, that's young, old, male, female. And I said, okay, that's great. And now I want to make a 6-quadrant film, which is North and South. And then I want to make an 8-quadrant film, which is Indian and international. And these quadrants, which should, you know, they never stop.
Fabulous. Let's go back a bit. How were your growing up years, and how did you, or when did you know that filmmaking was your future?
You know, I was in boarding school in Panchgani, St. Peter's School, and every Friday we would get this big peti. It was a steel trunk, and we'd all our school kids would like gather around to see what was inside that steel trunk, and what it was huge cans of film, because on Saturday they would be in the assembly hall, which is not a theater by any chance, right? It was just the assembly hall where the screen would be put up, the 16mm projector would come on, and then we would be there saying, what's the film, which we already had sneak peeked on. And what would happen is that I would in some ways escape and forget myself. And in a way, I would remember myself while I was watching these movies. And there was the man from Uncle, the man from UNCLE, and there was Laurel and Hardy. There were westerns, and there were westerns which I could understand what they were speaking, right? Because there was an American drawl and there was no subtitles. Even now I watch like everything with subtitles, because sometimes you can't understand what the accent is. And you would hear these cowboys or whatever, like, you know, saying, wow, this is, you know, and then that film would burn, because the projector sometimes would burn, you know, and you've been through experiences where you say, "Arey, projector, kya ho gaya?" You know, all this in the theater, right? So we do that in school. Now that feeling is no longer there, because it's a digital kind of print, and it's being like, you know, sort of virtually, like, you know, sort of downloaded and whatever. But at that time, it was actually inflammable. And when that film in that assembly hall used to burn, and we used to feel such a sense of disappointment, because the whole screen, you've seen what that screen looks like, you know, it goes like this, you know, and the whole, there would be a gasp in that assembly hall saying, oh, and then there would be a splicer. But you know what? There would also be a smell. And that smell of burning film, I think, is what I got intoxicated by. So when I was 16, I knew, I think I was the only person in school who knew, what would you like to become? And it's, I'd like to become a film director. I don't know, I think it was the intoxication of that smell of that burning film that made me want to do that. I go around sniffing film now, you know. But that was really...
So how did ad films happen?
Well, my family, my mother is a widow. My father expired when I was very young, and I have 2 elder brothers, and one of my brothers is in diamonds, and my middle brother is also a photographer. And what had happened was that I was in Sydenham College, but then I had to leave college because I had to work. So one of the places I tried selling milk, and then they were selling carpets, and there was like, you know, so you have to earn a living, right? And then my brother said, why don't you come and join diamonds? And so I also did diamond sorting for a while. And then he said, come to New York. I said, okay, great. But he said, come and work with me there in diamonds. And I said, no hassles, but will you pay for my NYU School of Continuing Education film class in the evenings if I come and work with you in the daytime? And he was very sweet. And my influence on music and my influences on photography and all came from my middle brother. And my elder brother therefore made it possible for me to actually get a sort of film education, though it was an evening, you know, sort of NYU evening kind of thing. And what happened was that then the family basically said, man, this guy is really passionate about cinema. Huh? So, but then everybody obviously felt that the feature film world is such a, you don't get settled, like there's this concept, okay, settled, Gujarati, right? So settled thai gaya. So it was like we all, okay, bacha settle ho gaya. So advertising therefore felt like it felt like a place where you could get settled. And my brother his friend knew Dilip Ghosh, who was in Equinox at that time. And so I asked for a job. But before that, I asked 2 other people for a job. I asked Kailash Surendranath in Far, I asked Prahlad Kakkar in Genesis. And Kailash actually, after the first 10 days, and I was a flunky doing, I think it was Surf, that was the commercial. And then after 10 days, they let me go. I must have been really bad, but I respect, Kailash a lot right now. When I speak to him, I said, Kailash, you let me go. And I remember walking down Walkeshwar, like literally in tears that, oh gosh, I've not got a job. And then I asked Prahlad, and Prahlad, of course, you can never meet because, so I went 9 times, 10 times to his office in Everest building. And the dog would be around all the time, but Prahlad was not there. And then once he was there and he said, where are you going? And so I said, why are you here, first of all, he says. So I said, sir, I've come to ask you for a job. He said, okay, come with me, come to Dadar. I'm going to Dadar. And so he puts me in one taxi and he says, don't join me. I've got too many people. Go join Equinox. And actually, that's what happened. And I went and then asked Dilip and Shumantro Ghoshal for a job. And they gave me a job. And 2 years later, Shumantro offered me a partnership. And he is genuinely my guru and my mentor. And the reason that he's now chairman emeritus of Equinox, while Amita and me own it. So, I mean, it seems like it was easy, but it's all thanks to him that he, had faith and trust in the fact that I would be a director and I could be a director.
Do you remember the first film which you directed?
Yes, I do actually. I also have, I yet have in my files a copy of the check that I got for that first ad film. It was for 7 lakhs, not my fees. That was the entire budget of the ad. It was for Baygon Spray, and it said no entry for pests. Yeah. No entry for pests was the ad. And Amita, my wife, was also a trainee in Equinox. So I owe actually advertising a lot. My work ethic, a lot of my craft is thanks my friends. There's a lot of people in advertising, and even now I continue making ads. I just shot a commercial for Spotify over the weekend during lockdown. So I think it's something which I continue and want to continue pursuing for sure.
So we come to one of the highlights of your advertising career, which is Happy Day White commercial that won you even a Cannes Lion and numerous other awards all over the world, which is also my favorite commercial in the Indian ad space ever. How did you conceive and create that commercial?
No, first, this is all Prasoon Joshi, right? This is all thanks to him. I respect him a lot. I'm fond of him very much, and he has a poet's mind. Literally somebody who has one of the best minds that I've ever interacted with. And this is Prasoon because what happened was that they had made an earlier commercial, which was a simpler commercial for Happy Dent, but it did use the idea of the teeth and the brightness of the, sort of the light. And then we were doing another commercial, which was for a car, which we were not quite happy with. And what was nice about Prasoon is that he didn't have creative blame. There are a lot of creative directors in advertising who have creative blame. So if the commercial doesn't work out, then they blame the director. And Prasoon was very generous. He immediately after that commercial, and because he was looking around the world, I think, to see who could do justice to the new commercial. And then I also said to him, Prasoon, if you don't mind, I've actually drawn some. He was telling me what the script was. And I then, through a friend of ours called Chetan, and he runs a company called Animagic, and you should see the storyboard that he did, which was a spec, which I then showed to Prasoon, and I said, It's literally that those storyboards are like they should be kept in a museum. They were so fantastic. And I showed it to him as artwork, and I said, Prasoon, how about visualizing it? And when we spoke about the way we should do it, etc. And I think it was his generosity that said, okay, Ram, why don't you make it? And even after we made it, I remember we saw it, and Prasoon and me said, "Theek hai na, acha hai na? I think it should work, right?" And then we were doing the music with Shantanu Moitra, and Vishal Shekhar, the music directors, were in the other studio because I was doing another ad in the other studio while I was doing the music of Happy Dent. And Vishal Shekhar came and saw the ad, and they said, "We want to be involved in this," though Shantanu Moitra was the music director. And they said, "Can we give the Qawwali claps?" And so Vishal Shekhar actually are doing the Qawwali claps while Shantanu Moitra is the music. And then what happened was that the world, and India certainly, began to be proud about it. It's one of those rare pieces of work that I have had in my career, thanks to Prasoon, which is owned by everybody. It's not as if it's a competitive thing. We released the ad on a Saturday, and Monday I was going to Ogilvy, and Prasoon is from McCann, and I was going to Ogilvy to discuss a commercial, and people stood up and started clapping in the corridor as I walked by, and I said, wow, that means the work has transcended competition. The work has transcended. It's something that everybody actually owns. And I think some of the best work that happens, how do you know when work is good, is when you want to share it with other people. You want to say, have you read this book? You own it, because it's because you told your friend to read the book. You told your friend to see this movie. Therefore it's mine because I recommended it to you. And I think that's what happened in that commercial. It's obviously one of the rare times that happened. It happened with Aggie again for Har Ek Friend Zaruri Hota Hai, where again it reached out in such a massive way. So
my next question was on Airtel. I often wonder if you're on the payroll of Airtel, considering you have done so many ads for them. So just talk a bit about your work with Airtel.
No, first, there is no payroll, or there is no contract of any kind with Airtel.
No, that's a joke. Yeah.
It's completely, it's thanks to Gopal, who now runs Airtel and who's the head there. And it's thanks to Aggie and Taproot that they do trust us, and there is a collaboration there. And it's up to them to decide, obviously, whether the collaboration and how long that collaboration will continue. But what was very, very sweet was that last Friday, the Airtel team said we need to throw a Zoom success party. And there was, Taproot was there, and my team from Equinox was there, my producers Manoj and Ria, and Pallavi from Taproot was there, and Gopal and Shashwat and everybody from Mahek and everybody from Airtel was there. And they basically just said, we want to thank you because the last campaign that we did has been a huge success. And I think what has happened is that over time, thanks to Aggie a lot more than anything to do with me, and thanks to Gopal, I think I have begun to understand the softer things about the brand and what it stands for. And I'm interested in brands and their tones of voices. And therefore, a lot of the time, even when I'm doing a show, I will have a conversation with even Disney Plus Hotstar saying, 1 minute, what's the brand? Where's the brand coming from? Yeah, is Aria okay for a Disney Plus Hotstar kind of platform? And I think that those tones of voices, which is what is the muscles and bones of an organization, what is the skin of an organization, what is the skin of a brand, I think those are things which I find that I like being responsible for. Those are batons that have certainly been passed on to me at times, and certainly on Airtel. And I'm very happy that they have had that trust. I hope never to let it down. But it is eventually that it's all the softer things of how people work. There's also a shorthand, right, which happens over time with a team. And I think more and more we are not in the advertising business, we're in the relationship business. We therefore can communicate with each other easier because of the investments that we've made with each other. And that's why relationships are so important for me, even whether I'm making work about it or whether I'm trying very hard to maintain them in life.
Name ad filmmakers globally that you have liked over the years and some work you would like to share which you have liked in the recent past.
There have been greats, obviously, in advertising from, Alan Parker and Joel Sedelmaier many years ago, and then Frank Gehry and Frank Budgeon, and so many greats, and Ridley Scott himself, obviously, and so many directors who came from advertising and then who became big directors in feature filmmaking, and then also dabbled and went back to advertising. I find that in my career, advertising is permanent but impermanent because it's got a very low shelf life, whereas feature filmmaking and web series will be in a way permanent, but it's impermanent because it's not what I do daily, right? It takes me 2-3 years or sometimes 8-9 years to get to what I want to make. But the great work, I think, is, we all know the great work. There's this Guinness Surfer film, which is, it has James Joyce's work in it, and you look at it and you say, whoa, that's amazing. And it's a commercial that says good things come to those who wait, but it's about a surfer who's waiting for the surf. And the first shot of that commercial is it just holds on the man's face, and it holds, and then the voiceover says, he waits, tick tock, he waits. And these are things which you look at, and I believe when advertising is great, it can become art. And I do believe that, therefore, even though it's commissioned art, the Sistine Chapel itself is commissioned art. And I feel that, therefore, there are so many such commercials that, like I was saying, it's, you want to share it, you want to own it, you want to watch it again. Sometimes you may even want to buy some of the commercials that people have made. There is a lot of commercials working, certainly in India also, and I look up to Prakash Nirvana, I look up to Prasoon Pandey's work. There's so many, there's Vivek, there's Vinil, there's so many commercial, and I'm sure I'll have now forgotten somebody and say, oh gosh, I forgot to mention these people who I aspire to be. Amit and Abhinay, and there's so many of them who I have been, in a way, admiring and envious of their work while getting motivated by it. So
let's talk about feature films now. Let's talk about feature films now. Why that agonizing long wait for Nirja to happen after your first film?
Well, Mitrajit, and not because of me. I think that I tried very hard to try and make other work. It didn't happen. In the struggle of trying to climb, like I said, this mountain of cinema, there are frostbite and there is landslides, and sometimes somebody could push you even off the mountain. And you didn't even know that. But what happened was I didn't get lower than base camp. I got to base camp. I said, okay, let's get back up again, because this is what I wanted to do, right? I chose to do this. Nobody has forced me to do this. And it is a struggle to get to make work which you want to make. And a lot of the time it's not in your power or control. So I now have, I think, about 10 feature film scripts which are there on, in that shelf in the office, which are works that didn't happen. They were dialogues done, everything. But I think every filmmaker has this. I'm not just, it's not just me. Everybody goes through all of this. And sometimes stories escape you when after you've written them, and if they don't get made for some years, you say, I don't feel like making it anymore. And then I do genuinely believe that there is a power out there which is higher than me. And that power is actually making it happen. I waited for 14 years, but look what that power gave, what the universe gave, which is it gave me Nirja. And the forces aligned to make that happen. And now it took me 4 years now to get to Aria. And I did try other projects in between, not that I didn't. Everybody says, he's doing ads. That's why, that's why he's an ad filmmaker. He has no money. he takes so long. But why, sir, why don't you make a movie a year? Because, why, but I'm trying. It's not that I'm, sort of saying that, no, it's okay, I don't want to make it. No, I'm working at it. It doesn't work out. And I think one of the things that Aria certainly says in the show is that trust is good, but control is better. And I'm waiting. We wait. Amita and me are waiting, and we try and make sure that the work that we do, we can control, not just for the creative output, but for the team. And we want to give people an experience. We say we don't want to organize a shoot, we want to host the shoot. We call ourselves 360 degrees, not just in the way that we film, but in the way that we'd like to look after people. And therefore we're trying to see how we can control the experience. We don't want people to tell us, "Ke, acha, ye hotel mein, don't put the rest of your crew." And that's my decision. That's not your decision, right? I want to look after my people. And therefore, it's not just about controlling the creative output, because I can't actually, in a way, tell you whether it'll work. But what I can do is I can control the process. And therefore, this word, sort of control is something that we are struggling with and trying to get the power to do what we would like to do, not just in the stories that we want to tell, but in how we want to treat people.
So what did attract you about Neerja as the story?
So what happened was that when Atul first called me, Atul had, as I said, I'm grateful to Atul because he was chasing me for about 3 or 4 years before that. And he said, Ram, you should make a film, And he took me to meet various actors sometimes, and he'd take me to meet various producers. And every time I would say, but Atul, it's okay, let's wait. And then one day he called me and he said, do you know about Neerja Bhanot? And I knew about Neerja Bhanot because my wife Amita's closest friend was Neerja's closest friend in school. And obviously we all knew what had happened to her. And when he called me, I immediately said yes. At that time, it was just an idea. I think Simon had written a synopsis, which I actually hadn't read. And when we then went, Atul, Simon, Sonam, myself, we went to Chandigarh to meet the Bhanot family and to meet Neerja's mother, Mrs. Bhanot. And we spent an evening at their home. And it was then that I understood that we are not making a hijack film. We are making a story about a mother. And how does a mother overcome the loss of their child? And how does a family deal with that? Because that is really what I saw. And Neerja's mother is somebody who came to our shoot and blessed us. Jeete raho, khush raho. She kept, telling us, and all of us were blessed by her. When she came to the shooting, she was not there, and she passed away before the trailer launch. I would have loved to have shown her the film. But she was such a positive and sort of full of spirit lady, and I'm yet in touch with the family. Huge regard for them, Anisha and Akhil Bhanot. And therefore, when I met them, I realized that this is not going to be just a hijack film. And so when Simon, Sanyukta, myself, and we were working over it over the next year and a half, with them writing the script and the dialogues with Sanyukta, we made it so that it became a family overcoming the loss, and therefore it became an inspirational, motivational film rather than just a hijack story, but that came from the family itself.
How was it working with Shabana ji?
She's the Shabana ji, right? So she's daunting, obviously, because, she's done so much work. I must say, however, that when I told her my system and I said to her that on the day one of shooting, when we are shooting in the colony, and I said the way I work is that I shoot with two, three cameras, I do big scenes, and also I don't do reset up or action or cut. And what I do is the house will be like your house. The cupboards will have all the clothes that you would have, what the character would have, and the kitchen would have a fully equipped kitchen. And I said, when the day before the shooting, if you can just come and visit the home just to see that you're comfortable. And she was incredible because the first thing that she came, she looked at the kitchen, she said, "Acha hai, but Ram, can I get a dalda dabba with a money plant in it?" And even though you don't see the dalda dabba or money plant in the film, but the energy of what is outside the frame creeps into the frame. I firmly believe that. I don't believe life happens in between action and cut. I believe life happens before action and after cut, and before the scene and after the scene, and what you're doing around the scene, that is what creeps into the scene. And so the system that I follow is also a 360-degree way of shooting. And she adapted and embraced that system. And in fact, on day one of shooting, she said, "I want to go and meet the neighbors." And I said, "Aria, now Shabana Azmi is going to go around walking the colony and meeting the neighbors." And she just went to the neighbors. She sat down, and it was a Gujarati family. She touched Ba's feet, and we were given tea. She said, "I want to see your kitchen." And she was incredible in the way that she imbibes the energy of the space. So I would love to work with her again. The way that she did the speech at the end. Her mother was in hospital, and in Breach Candy Hospital, and I remember going there, and I said, Shabana ji is, we're going to be shooting the speech. And she said, but this is what I'm thinking about the speech. And we were in the small cafeteria inside the hospital. And as she started reading it and just telling me what she was going to do with it, I started crying while she was there rehearsing it. And she's so thorough and so prepared when she comes to her on a role. It's like I would hear her on my, when I'm listening to the actors, she would be in the kitchen, even though it's not her scene, she'd be there rehearsing her lines. Genuine pleasure working with her.
Your admiration for international filmmakers like Mike Leigh, Fateh Akin, and Asghar Farhadi is well documented.
Right.
Talk about what inspires you about their work a bit.
So Mike Leigh, I saw a film of his when I was in Australia. I'd gone there to shoot a commercial, and Aggie and me, Aggie and me were in Australia, and it was called Secrets and Lies. And it was one of those experiences which, sometimes you go into a movie hall, and when you come out after having seen a film, you don't want to talk to anybody, or you just walk, you just want to soak in what you had just seen, because I thought I wasn't seeing a movie. I thought I'm seeing real life. This is incredible acting. And he became therefore, in a way, somebody who is my guru in what I aspire to be as a filmmaker. And though I do want to be a humanist, because he's a humanist, they say filmmakers are humanists or are poetists. And let's say somebody like Tarkovsky is a poetess. Mike Leigh is a humanist. Satyajit is obviously both a humanist and a poetist. But
interesting.
What happened was that Let's Talk, which was the first film that I made, I started reading about Mike Leigh. In fact, behind me, you will see a whole collection of cinema books. I think I have one of the best collection of cinema books in Bombay. At least I pride myself on that. I may be wrong, but Mike Leigh is there, rubbing shoulders with so many other filmmakers. But he changed the way that I approach my work, because I started following how he does his work, and I started seeing how I could make it feel real. When you're in the plane, you feel that you're suffocated. You really feel that these are people that you are trapped yourself. Or in Let's Talk, you feel that the couple is actually married, which is Baman and Maya. Or you really feel that Sonam, and fantastic she was in Nija, so incredibly good as Nija and in Nija, that you feel that this is actually her. You forget that it's Sonam. And now when you look at in Aria, you feel that the constant comment that comes my way is that it feels like we're a fly on the wall. I don't know what that means actually, but it means that you're observing what is happening without them knowing that you're there. And I'm trying to get to this, ways to make it real and make you feel like as if you're actually watching real life happening. If it's a couple arguing in a kitchen, between Chandrachur Singh, Tej, and Shushmita, who's Aria, you really feel, my gosh, this is a real argument that a couple is happening. And oh gosh, their daughter just walked in, my gosh, what's going to happen now? And therefore, I'm trying to see in this pursuit of truth and pursuit of reality, stupidly, I also have 10 rules to get there. And my team gets very puckered with what I try and do to embrace a system that allows the actors. I'm in the service of my actors. I'm in the service of trying to see how they can give me reality and give me something that feels like as if it is really honest, which is not to say that I don't mind stylized acting. I think a lot of our work is in Hindi cinema is stylized, and I love that too, but that's not my pursuit right now. My pursuit is to try and see how I can make it real, how I can make it believable.
What about Farhadi's work? The Salesman, A
It's
Separation.
incredible because he also has an ensemble way of working. It's wrong of me. It's beautiful in Indian classical music. Whenever you take the name of a guru, you touch your ear, and therefore that's what I'm doing right now. I touch my ear when there's Mike Lee or there's Asghar Farhadi, and they're incredible people who I read their processes, and I try and see how I can follow their processes. And I'm sure I'm lucky if I even get to 5% of the kind of greatness that they are doing. And I'm just like trying to see how to learn to adapt to some of the things that the way that they work.
So, can you name a favorite movie of Fateh Akin and Asghar Farhadi's? Yeah,
Oh
I'm
gosh.
pretty much sure Secrets and Lies would be your favorite amongst Mike Lee's work.
There is another movie called Naked, which Mike Lee has made, which is
Which
also
one? Sorry,
Naked.
Naked.
It's called
Yes,
Naked.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked A Separation a lot. There was before A Separation, I think Asghar Farhadi made About Ellie, which is also a great film. The gods of cinema were people that we followed from the 70s and the 80s. And recently, of course, there is Fateh Akin, there is also Asghar Farhadi. These are recent gods, right? These are people that we are following as directors and as filmmakers whose work we aspire to be and definitely to watch. And I think one of the things about the OTT content is that we have now, who is the director that we are following in OTT, which is the web series directors that we're following. Obviously, when you know that David Fincher has done a certain work, but then his brand equity is coming from the brand equity that he's built over the years in cinema. Or you're saying Scorsese directed this episode 1, or but for the newer bunch, how are we going to get their brand equity, and how are we going to recognize their work, and even in a sort of environment where in fact the director, you don't know who the director is. The director comes and goes because the showrunner and the creator is the people who are doing it, and therefore is the age of the director as the auteur. Is that something that we are beginning to see is over, or is the director still relevant? I'm hoping that I'm hoping that what I do at least has a certain signature, and the work that I do, people will recognize. But that's what I'm aspiring to be. But still, eventually, Aria is directed by 3 directors. There is Sandeep, there's Vinod, there's 3 of us, and we're all working to one vision. And yes, the vision is something that I said this is the way that we should do it. And I think that these are the new worlds that we're going to have to now, as audiences, say, I'm following the episode director of Game of Thrones of episode. His name, I want to read about his name, but it's not as easy to do that as it used to be with feature films where we follow directors. And even now, I'm so happy that I say, Asif Kapadia directed episode 2 of Mind Hunter, and so. But these are, I think, we need to be building the equity of the filmmaker, the credit of the filmmaker. We don't need to be in a skip intro, skip credit title. We better skip fast. It's almost anxious. You feel. I want to read the credit title. I want to read. I can't. It's gone. So for us film geeks, I think, and for people who follow and who have built and have been lucky enough to build a sort of, where the audience wants to see your work. They wanted to see Yash Chopra's work. They wanted to see Rishikesh Mukherjee's work. They want to see Ramesh Sippy's work. And I don't know whether today we will be able to get to a position, if we move on to OTT, to follow people's works.
What have you seen in the past 1 year in the OTT space which have really, you have liked from anywhere in the world?
No, I'll tell you my Indian shows, which I have liked, and maybe again I'll forget some of them, but Mirzapur I loved it. I love Patal Lok. I like Panchayat a lot. I love Family Man. And these are all shows and creators and people, when I'm looking at, I'm saying, wow, this is incredible work. This is again work that I would like to aspire to do, and I would like to learn from. So I'll speak purely of the Indian work, because that's where my environment is, and these are people that I, again, just like in advertising, there are people that I follow. That these are all the people that I would follow, and I'm sure Made in Heaven. These are shows, obviously, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them, but these are shows that I genuinely enjoyed. I loved Panchayat when I saw it. I thought it was really the Malgudi days of our day. And it is the music, to the innocence, to the characters, and we grew up on Malgudi days, and I think Panchayat is one of those things which I really want to see now what's going to happen to the characters in season 2. So
Neerja producer and your friend Atul Kasbekar, who was earlier in this show, had commented that even if Ram Madhvani has 6 films in his filmography, he will be considered as one of the greatest filmmakers ever. Your comments.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Atul, for that bias, also because you're a friend and a believer. And I think he has been that for some time. He has had that faith in me. I hope never to let that down. I don't know whether I will be that, or whether I can aspire to actually, sort of what he has said. But in the fact that he's even said it, and the fact that there is something that maybe now I have to live up to, I hope never to disappoint him.
Now we are coming to the end of the interview. I will ask you some questions, just one word answer. Actors you would love to work with?
Like one word answers?
No, you can take a few names if you want.
Well, Sonam, Shabana, Shushmita, Chandrachud again, and everybody in Aria. But certainly I'd like to work with, there's Ranveer Singh, and there's Ranbir Kapoor, and there is Deepika, and there's Alia, and there's so many of them that Amir Khan, certainly.
A contemporary Indian film that you have liked?
I saw I've also been seeing a lot of documentaries, actually. I saw a documentary called Icarus, which is on the doping scandal, and it's about cycling. And I loved that documentary. I saw a film which was called Laundromat, which is a Steven Soderbergh film with Meryl Streep in it. Yes, there is a movie called Capernaum, which is by I think Lebanese director called Nadine Labaki. Wow, that film is another film that I would really, really aspire to be that kind of filmmaker. You really believe you're there. You're not observing it, you're just inside it.
Favorite city in the world?
I like Mumbai.
A place you would like to visit post-lockdown?
I go for a detox to Dehradun, to a place called Vana every year. And it's a place that I miss. And this Ayurvedic kind of detox that Amita and me go for along with my son. And it's a place that I would like to go back to for sure.
Thank you, Ram Madhvani, for talking to me in Bollywood Talkies with Outlook. Wish you the best for your future endeavors. Stay safe and see you on the other side of the break. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye-bye.